Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Throttle Grotto. Today's the day. Today is the day that I have to put my money where my engine compartment is, and I need to see if this whole assembly fits into this whole assembly. Stay tuned. Doing some maintenance on this car. I have a really leaky valve cover gasket on the back side of the engine here, and getting the engine to this point was not my favorite thing to do. So I've already taken off the intake manifold, which I probably could have used to lift the engine out of the car. So that's pretty smart. Yeah, and I've already put the transmission back in the car, so I got to take the transmission back out of the car, which is also pretty smart. I'm at the point where there's not much time left in summer that I'm going to have to enjoy the car, or I can just jump in and see if my if my F136 will fit. Then I should be able to, all the places I can just tuck things out of the way. Well, if the radiator comes out, that can probably help alleviate a little bit of room issues getting the engine in and out of the car. So this is the intake manifold assembly. No, it is not attached to this engine, but as you can see, the intake manifold is actually just as wide as the V8. So we know that that will fit between the shock towers. And this is all, well, you can see here, here's one of the mounts for the valve cover, for the engine intake manifold. And here's the other. So that should be where the V8 sits. Like, it'll sit between those two spots. I should still be able to reach around the engine and get to things. The real wild card is going to be up here at the front. How far out does it come? Is it going to hit the hood? Let me set things up here because I have to take the car down, turn it around, do the hokey pokey, all that stuff. All right, after a lot of Austin powersing in the garage here, I've got everything up in the air, I've drained the coolant, pulled the radiator and the fan and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm pretty close to having this thing out, but I am exhausted today. Not going to get this out today. Get a little better look at the size of this intake manifold assembly in comparison to how the V8 is. It's almost exactly the same size, side to side. And if you add in the stuff on the back here to the water jacket or the water tube crossover thing, where those bolt up right down here, to these intake air control, I think is what these all are. I'm only adding half a cylinder on the front and some pulleys. All right, everybody, I feel a lot better today. It's a few days later. Got some sleep, got some rest. Did a bicycle race. That's rest, right? It's not working on a car, so it must not be working hard at all. So today's the day that the VG is coming out of the Z32. I have quite a bit to do. I still have to undo the transmission, which I put back in. Don't get me started on that whole deal. And then there's the AC pump, the power steering, alternator, all that stuff that's got to come out. and some hoses on the back side of the engine, which hopefully is way easier to get to from underneath once the transmission's out of the way. I may have to reinstall the intake manifold to give me a lift point for the engine, because there really isn't a way on these engines to lift the engine out of the car. They don't really give you a place for that. Okay, so the engine is out of the Z. The transmission is also out, as you can see. So a few pluses about doing it this way. If I end up doing worst case scenario, which is just maintenance, both these hoses at the heater core were sus, so I'm going to replace those. The engine mounts, this side was, as you can tell, perished and like stubby ratchet tight. It wasn't even that tight. The driver's side one is also perished. I don't have, those need to be replaced regardless of what happens. And then, of course, a giant cleanup in here, like scrubbing out like 30 some years of dirt and grime would be a good thing for the engine bay. If there's anything else you guys think I should do, down in the comments, let me know. I've already replaced that engine, or that battery power harness. That was the one that was in there was pretty bad. But as you can see, there's a lot of plugs and cables and things like sensors and all that stuff to disconnect if you take one of these engine out. So kind of what took my time. It took me longer, of course, than I thought it would, but I got everything out without breaking anything. So if I need to put stuff back in, I can do that. So as you guys saw before, the 350Z trans is just about the same length as the 300Z trans. So we kind of looked at that earlier in one of the previous videos, or previously in the video. And we know that this engine, or this transmission, is like within a half an inch or so of the Z32 one. We've got the engines kind of lined up back to back here. This one isn't sitting level on the dolly because it's a Harbor Freight dolly. Shimmed it up with wood blocks to get it on there so I could move it around. Back here is actually where I had all the oil leaking from on the valve cover gaskets. So if I have to do those, it's going to be a lot easier with the engine out as well. We're looking here at back to back on the engines, and you can imagine that propped up just a little bit. I come up to the front here. We're not that far off, friends. Like, we are fairly close on the overall length of this engine. And if you'll remember how much room we had to play with here, it was quite a bit once the engine was out, or the radiator and stuff was out of the way. That's a huge positive. You can see we already lined up the intake on top of the F136, and it was pretty close to the same width, top to top. The water pump is going to be the part that is the widest, which the water pump takes the place of the power steering pump on the VG. The power steering pump on the F136 moves over here and takes up that space. And then the AC pump lives about where the AC pump lived on the F136, or on the VG. So adapting, figuring out how to get an AC pump on here probably won't be the end of, it's not a deal breaker, that's for sure. Definitely, we've got some, hoses are pretty close to the same spot. Like you can see here where the VG hoses are and the F136 hoses. So those are in reasonable places to make work in the Z. And of course, the alternator being on top is both a cool thing and a crappy thing, because that's where I'd like to run, if you could run a shorty intake manifold and just run it straight out the front there, where the alternator is, that would be cool. We can work around that. So that is where I'm at right now. It's a little after 3 o'clock. I'm trying to decide if I want to press through and see this thing hanging in the car, or yeah, I kind of do want to press through and see this thing hanging in the car. All right, one of the things that I'm going to have to do before I sling this into the car is I'm going to have to take the engine mounts off the F136. You can see they stick out way further, and I need as much room down here at the subframe as I can possibly get. Yeah, I'm going to pull those off and then sling the engine up. Some power steering lines that are going to be possibly an issue. These might have to be redone. This is where you start to get nervous. You don't really know what's going to happen. Okay, so that was a fail. This is the second car that I've not been able to get the F136 in. Problem here was the steering rack. The steering rack sits up actually higher than the subframe. And then these all could have been moved if I could have got it to the subframe and got it lower than the subframe, then I could have notched the subframe to clear. But the problem is the steering rack holds this up high enough that the bell housing came to about here. So it was not even low enough to get it to drop down inside. The F136 continues to vex me. The way forward is maintenance. Maintenance on the VG timing belt, valve cover gaskets, new engine mounts, new heater core pipes, and get her back in, get her running. I'm just frustrated that I'm continually trying to do something cool here and I keep getting stymied. I'm going to have to keep hunting for something that this stinking motor and transmission will fit into, but I need to finish the E30 first. I need to finish this. There's work going on in 928 in the background. It's just going to be a little bit, so be patient with that one. So unfortunately, if you wanted to see the F136 go into something, this is not the update you were hoping for. If you were hoping for the VG to remain in the Z, it's the update you were hoping for. So with that, until next time, get out there and work on something.